Chapter 14. Cody spoke first, just because one of them had to say something. They were standing behind the black Suncoast Town car that Hutch knew his dad must have driven here, the car hiding them from Carl Hutchinson and Darrell Williams, at least for now. Is your dad, like, lost or something? Looks right at home, if you ask me, Cody said. He barely even comes to games. Tell me about it. So what's he doing out there? Cody said. Hutch's dad had jogged out to short now, was crouched in front of Darrell. Hutch said, showing him how to put his glove straight down, then bring it straight up once the ball is in it. It was one of the first things Hutch could remember his dad teaching him, before his dad stopped teaching him baseball things. Hutch was 7. His dad had brought a small plywood board out into the yard, told Hutch to pretend the wood was his glove, showed him how to put it straight down on the ground, and then use his bare hand to pin the ball against it. Then he'd shown Hutch how to keep that bare hand on the ball as the board came up, almost like a snatch move, before he set himself to make his throw. When he was 7, Hutch thought he could practice for 1,000 years and not make it look as easy as his dad did. Hutch remembered everything about that day, remembered how his dad stayed out there until he was satisfied Hutch was doing it the way he'd wanted him to, finally telling him, "This is a hard game. If you're going to learn it, you might as well learn it right." Then he'd gone back inside the house, telling Hutch that if he wanted to keep practicing, he could throw the ball against the little pitchback he'd bought for him. Now he was out near second base doing the same thing with Darrell Williams, putting his own glove down in the dirt. Where did the glove come from? Hutch wondered. He didn't even know his dad still owned one. And then bringing it up in that old snatch move, making it look as effortless as he always had. Next, he went and stood behind the pitcher's mound, with what had to be Darrell's bat in his hands, rocketing grounders at Darrell from there, unable to get one past him. Hutch watched them, thinking, it's like they're the same player. You want to go join him? Cody said. We can't hide here behind this car all afternoon. No, Hutch said. Still looks to me like the two of them are doing just fine on their own. He could feel heat on the back of his neck, like somebody had just turned up the sun. How many times, Hutch thought, how many times had he wanted to be alone on a field, any field, with his dad, the way he was alone out there with Darrell Williams right now? Hutch watched now as his dad walked back to home plate, heard him yell out, "One more." Coach Carl Hutchinson. He hit one more rocket. This one was to Darrell's right. Darrell went to his knees, made a sliding stop, whipped a throw across the diamond that would have been dead solid perfect if somebody had been standing on the bag. Can't lie to you, son, Carl Hutchinson shouted, flipping the bat over his head as if surrendering. That's the way I used to pick 'em. Hutch tried to remember one time in his life when his dad had said anything like that to him, but couldn't. He and Cody came out from behind the car now, walking toward the home team's bench at Santa Luce's. It was then that Carl Hutchinson noticed them. Hey, he said, how long you guys been here? Hutch said, long enough. He sat down on the bench, made himself very busy putting on his socks and his baseball shoes, as if knotting the laces just right was the most important thing he was going to do all day, or all summer. Man, I am out of shape, his dad said. Darrell was with them now, having retrieved the ball from where it had ended up against the wire fence and back at first. Don't believe that, Darrell said. Captain, you never told me you had such a cool dad. Maybe because I didn't know myself, Hutch thought. Darrell said, I can't believe how much I learned in like 15 minutes. Yeah, Hutch said, not looking up at either one of them. My dad sure knows his baseball. The way it happened, Carl Hutchinson explained to his son, was this. He had made an airport run to Fort Lauderdale earlier in the day and was supposed to wait down there and pick up an arriving passenger and drive him to the Ritz-Carlton in Manalapan. But then the arriving passenger's flight was canceled, and he knew he had to pick up Hutch and Cody, so he decided to surprise Hutch and watch practice for the first time all season. Surprise, Hutch said when he finished, his smile as fake as the one you gave if you got a present you actually hated. When I got here, his dad continued, Darrell was the only one here, and I decided to change in the car and work him out a little bit. Whatevs, Hutch said, a Cody word, one that usually expressed total indifference, not that Hutch's dad was going to pick up on that. Darrell had an extra glove with him. He's breaking in, his dad said. That's the way I used to do it. Had one glove as my gamer and another one warming up in the bullpen in case something happened to the gamer. Dad, Hutch said, I gotta get out there and start warming up. Like, sorry to interrupt such a fascinating story. The rest of the Cardinals were starting to show up now. Hutch saw Tripp and Tommy and Brett, Paul Garner, Hank Harding. He was looking at them, not his dad. Everything okay? His dad said, fine. I thought you'd be happier to see me, his dad said. Yeah, Hutch wanted to say, if you'd shown up about 5 years ago. I'm happy to see you back on the field, Dad, Hutch said, and then jogged toward the outfield to shag balls, just because that was as far away from his dad as he could get right now. Darrell was at first base, throwing grounders across the diamond to Hank Harding. You are so lucky, man, Darrell said to Hutch. Hutch had no choice but to stop. Yeah, he said, lucky me. Not only do you have a dad, Darrell said, you've got a baseball dad. You never told me your old man almost made it to the majors. Hutch did not want to have this conversation with him right now, or maybe ever, but there was something in his voice Hutch had never heard before. He didn't know if it was a kind of sadness or envy. Something, though. Something that didn't make him sound cool or cocky or better than everybody else. Something that made Hutch want to like him for more than the way he could play baseball. I never even met my dad, Hutch said, quietly, almost as if talking to himself instead of to Hutch. Sorry, Hutch said, knowing how weak that sounded, truly weak, but knowing it was the best he could do right now. My mom says that even if he'd hung around, he wouldn't have been here, Darrell said. What I know of him is just scraps and pieces. He liked baseball? Hutch asked. Only to bet on it, according to my mom. Now Hutch really didn't have anything to say, so he just ran out to where Cody was waiting for him in the right field. When he got there, Cody said, You talked things out with Darrell like you said you were going to? Never got around to it, Hutch said. He just wanted to tell me what a cool dad I have and how lucky I am. Cody said, I know you probably don't want to hear this, but your dad probably didn't think he was doing anything wrong. Hutch cut him off. Yeah, the way he doesn't think he's doing anything wrong when he doesn't even want to watch baseball with me, when the only company he seems to want is a stupid can of beer. Maybe we should change the subject, Cody said. Maybe we should, Hutch said. And then Cody was talking about tomorrow's game, about how good he'd heard their opponent, Punta Gorda, was, about last night's Marlins game, about this web gem highlight of Ken Griffey Jr. he'd seen on SportsCenter. Griffey running into another wall and making another amazing catch and not ending up on the disabled list for once. Sometimes Cody acted as if he thought talking could fix anything. Mr. Cullen called everybody in a few minutes later, saying they were going to have batting practice first today, that he wanted the regulars to make a quick run through the order, Tommy O'Neill taking Brett's place behind the plate so Brett could hit, Chris Mahoney calling balls and strikes. Alice Reyes led off, the way he always did, and when Mr. Cullen buckled his knees on an 0-2 count with a big breaking curve, Mahoney made a big show of punching him out, which drew hoots from the rest of the team. As Brett dug in, Darrell came and stood next to Hutch. The way I've been off the last couple of games with my stroke, Darrell said, I probably should be asking your dad for batting tips, not fielding tips. Hutch was swinging two bats, trying to get loose, trying to make his voice sound loose, casual. He said to Darrell, Go ahead and ask him if you want. He's sitting right behind us in the bleachers. Nah, I don't want to bother him any more today, Darrell said. I'm sure it wouldn't be a bother. He seemed to be having a great time with you out there. The best, Darrell said. He must have taught you everything you know. Hutch couldn't decide whether Darrell was messing with him or not, so he used a line he'd heard in a movie one time. Just not everything he knows, Hutch said. Brett walked on 4 pitches, Mr. Cullen complaining to Mahoney about the last 2 calls. Hutch's turn at bat now. He wanted to hit the first good pitch he saw as far as he had ever hit a baseball. Wanted to feel and hear his aluminum bat crush the ball. Wanted to show his dad that Hutch was pretty good at this game, too. He knew the biggest mistake a hitter could make was squeezing the bat and trying to hit a home run, that it was the surest and quickest way to screw up your swing. Hutch didn't care, not today. Whatever crazy mixed up feelings he was carrying with him to the batter's box right now, he was determined to take everything out on the ball. He swung at and missed the first pitch, and then took an even harder swing on the second pitch. Missed that too. At 0-2, he took his wildest swing yet, a caveman swing, worse than the one Darrell had knocked himself down with last night. He was lucky to get a piece of the ball off the end of the bat, grounding weakly down the first base line. After Hutch had run it out, Mr. Cullen called over to him. Okay, who are you and what have you done with my sweet swinging Captain Hutchinson? Just trying too hard today, Coach, Hutch said. Mr. Cullen gave him a funny look and said, Yeah, I get that. What I'm wondering is, why? From the batter's box, Darrell said, Maybe trying to show his dad a little something special, mocking him. No, Hutch said, going to get his glove. You're dead wrong, as a matter of fact. Sure about that? Darrell said. It was like Hutch could hear the smile in his voice before he turned and saw it on Darrell Williams' face. Darrell looking first at Hutch, then behind the plate where Carl Hutchinson was sitting, then back at Hutch, like he'd figured everything out. With about a half hour left in practice, after everybody had gotten their swings in, Mr. Cullen gathered the team around him near the pitcher's mound and talked about what Hutch knew everyone was thinking about. Being 1 game away from Roger Dean Stadium, from getting their chance to play the state finals on the big field there. They said our team was too young, he said, grinning at them, but that got old fast, didn't it, boys? Then he talked about what he had talked about the first day they were together, talking about pitching and defense, saying that in the end, no matter what level of baseball you were talking about, it always came down to pitching and defense for the best teams, with hardly any exceptions. So even though you're all tired and thirsty and your minds are already down in Lauderdale getting ready to play the Punta Gorda Pirates tomorrow night, guess what we're going to work on? Mr. Cullen said. I mean, since we know we got the pitching. They all knew the answer he was looking for. Defense! They shouted at him. Behind him, Hutch heard Darrell say, except D. Will don't want to work on any more defense today. Hutch knew Mr. Cullen had to have heard too, but if he did, he didn't let on. He just told the regulars to go take their places on defense. And as Hutch ran out to second, he heard Mr. Cullen call out, Mr. Hutchinson? Hutch stopped, turned around. Yes, coach? Only Mr. Cullen wasn't talking to him. Sorry, I meant Hutch Sr., he said, grinning. Then he yelled up to the stands and said, I've been waiting all year to have you show up early for one of my practices. Why's that? Hutch's dad yelled back. Because I was hoping to get a chance to put you to work, Mr. Cullen said. You probably have forgotten more about baseball than I know. Hutch's dad just dismissed that with a wave of his hand. Seriously, Mr. Cullen said, you mind helping out a little today, long as you're here? Say no, Hutch said to himself. Why not? His dad said. He got up, stretched, then made his way down the aluminum bleachers and around the screen behind home plate and out onto the field. What do you want me to do? Carl said. Mr. Cullen said, Go out there to second and get with my star middle infielders, including one I think you know. I can do that. I'll put some runners in motion from various places, Mr. Cullen said. Set up some situations like we usually do at this time of day. Then you check where Darrell and Hutch are playing, where they're going with the ball. See if an old infielder sees some stuff I don't. Hutch's dad said, Got it, and ran out to the back of the infield dirt, giving a little hop over the bag as he did. Mr. Cullen put Chris Mahoney on first, said Tommy O'Neill would be the runner from home as soon as the ball was in play. Darrell turned around to Hutch's dad now and said, I didn't know there were so many fine points to playing short until you started showing me, Mr. H. He knows, Hutch thought. It's why he was smiling at me before. He knows it bothered me seeing him on the field with my dad. It's why he wants to act like my dad is his baseball dad all of a sudden. They went through various situations for about 15 minutes. Darrell and Hutch made a couple of double plays, had to go to the outfield a bunch of times to get relay throws. Was I out far enough, Mr. H? Darrell said one time, and it all would have been a routine ending to practice except for this. Every time Darrell asked his dad for advice or thanked him for giving advice, Hutch felt himself getting madder and madder. Like a balloon somebody was blowing too much air into, one getting ready to pop. His dad would give a pointer to Hutch once in a while, too, move him a few feet this way or that, ask him where the ball was going, if it was hit to his right or left. But Hutch felt like his dad was just going through the motions, throwing him an occasional bone, that he didn't really care where the second baseman was or what he was doing. Carl Hutchinson couldn't help himself. He was a shortstop still, focusing on shortstop things, seeing everything through his shortstop's eyes. It didn't matter that the second baseman was his own kid, because the kid was still nothing more than a second baseman. With a few minutes to go, Mr. Cullen put Alex, their fastest guy, on first, and sent Tripp out to the mound and told him to just lob some pitches in. They were going to try a couple of bunt plays. Tripp got into his stretch position. Mr. Cullen squared to bunt. When it was clear Tripp was delivering the ball to the plate, not throwing over to first, Alex took off. He's going, Brett yelled. Then Mr. Cullen, even though he really wanted to lay down a bunt, missed the ball completely. Alex ran hard from first anyway, making the play into a straight steal. Usually Hutch would have been moving to cover first on a sacrifice bunt, but as soon as Mr. Cullen missed the pitch, Hutch raced to his right, trying to beat Alex to second base, keeping his eyes on Brett, who'd bounced out from behind the plate and unleashed one of his big throws. A few feet from the bag, Hutch looked up and saw that Darrell had come over to cover too. They didn't run into each other this time, both of them pulling up at the same moment, both of them watching Brett's throw sail into center as Alex raced for third. Before Darrell could say anything, and Hutch could see he really wanted to, Carl Hutchinson said, Shortstop cover is on that play. Even little leaguers know that. But, Hutch started to say, no buts about it, his dad snapped. You should have been moving toward first as soon as coach showed bunt. Then he pointed to his head and said, You got to think out here. Yeah, Darrell said to Hutch, shaking his head, walking back towards short. Think like a second baseman. And that was it. The balloon finally burst. Hutch followed him. Maybe I get crossed up sometimes, Hutch yelled, because I've gotten used to doing the thinking for both of us, even though you want my dad to think you're more interested in defense than Ozzie Smith all of a sudden. Darrell turned and smiled another one of his smiles. That's not what's making you hot, though, is it, Hutch, Junior? Darrell said. What's that supposed to mean? Hutch said, still yelling at him in a voice he barely recognized as his own. When Darrell answered, it was in a voice only loud enough for Hutch to hear. He said, What's the matter, Hutch, Junior? You afraid your daddy likes me better than you? Hutch didn't say anything, didn't think, just dropped his glove and went after him. Put his head down and drove his shoulder into Daryl's stomach like this was football. Put him down as hard as he could. By the time the two of them had been pulled apart, Hutch had been suspended from the Punta Gorda game.